Hey there, my name is Gary Sims and this is Gary Explains. So following the success of ChatGPT, ChatGPT 4, Microsoft, Bing, Google are now jumping onto the bandwagon. This is something they announced a few weeks ago, but they also have a chatbot, a machine learning system that can generate text following a prompt that you give it. Now I've managed to get access to the preview version and I thought I would take it for a spin. So if you want to find out more, please let me explain. Okay, so most of this video is going to be over at the prompt. We're going to type in things, see what the response is. A couple of things to note when you first go into it. Google's bring up lots of warnings about how this isn't really ready yet and it's not the kind of thing you should be taking medical advice from or other things like that. So that's Google are really trying to make sure they don't get clobbered on the stock market when this thing doesn't perform as expected. It's really setting expectations to be really where they should be. And secondly, it doesn't really do coding at the moment. They say that in the FAQ. It's not ready yet for coding, so I won't be doing the same kind of coding test that I would have done, let's say, with ChatGPT. Okay, let's head over straight to the prompt. Okay, so here we are in the Bard interface. It's a very familiar interface now. This is the kind of thing that ChatGPT does, that Bing does, and so on. Just notice here, still those warnings. Bard may display inaccurate, offensive information that doesn't represent Google's views. Google are really emphasizing the kind of, they don't want to get in any trouble, you know, like they did when they first launched it. Okay, so I've prepared some questions. I've been playing around with it. I've played quite a lot with ChatGPT. I've played around with Bing. So let's start with something. Now, obviously, the threshold is quite high for these things now. You know, in the old days of like 3 weeks ago, if you asked it something and you got a reasonable response, you were like, wow, this is absolutely amazing. But the bar is much higher now. So here's one. Explain the plot of Pinocchio in a sentence where each word has to begin with the next letter in the alphabet from A to Z without repeating any letters. Let's see what happens. ChatGPT handles this pretty well, considering the limitations of what you can create. Just a wooden puppet carved by a caring father begins a long journey facing many challenges. So that is a plot summary of Pinocchio in one sentence. However, it's not following the letters at all there. There's an A, then a W, then a P, then a C, then a B. So ChatGPT definitely would do better there. Okay, let's say how it does at maths. What is 7 to the power of 42? Now, one thing to note here is it doesn't, not like ChatGPT, doesn't give you the kind of the letters one at a time. You get the whole response in one go. 7 to the power of 42 is 3.1119, 10 to the power of 30. That is correct. So it can do better than ChatGPT with maths. Bing also gets this right. Now, one of the questions I asked ChatGPT in my last video is there a connection between Elvis Presley and Kurt Russell? And so let's see what Bard says about this. Again, notice how you get the whole thing. Yes, Kurt Russell played Elvis Presley in the 1979 TV movie Elvis. He was praised for performance and won a Golden Globe. And that is absolutely correct. However, there are other connections. Let's ask it. Are there any other connections? Okay, so particularly ChatGPT gave a different response, which I won't spoil for you now. Yes, Kurt Russell's father, Bing Russell, played Elvis Presley's father, Vern Presley, in the same... Yeah, okay. So what I'm going to ask it now is, did Kurt Russell appear in It Happened at the World's Fair? And let's see what Bard says about that. This is really the connection I was looking for. Yes, Kurt Russell made his film debut in It Happened at the World's Fair, where he played a young boy and he kicked Elvis Presley in the shin. So that was the point I was trying to make. So isn't that a connection between the two, please, Bard? What do you think about that? Yes, that is a connection between Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell appeared in a movie and certainly also played Elvis. So there you go. So when you ask that of ChatGPT, it gives you the answer, that very first occurrence, that very first connection between Kurt Russell and Elvis Presley straight away. Okay, let's try a children's riddle. Okay, so the children's riddle is the common one. It's 5 a.m. You are asleep and there is a loud knock on the door. It is a friend who has come to have breakfast. In your fridge are a box of eggs, bread, milk, juice, and a jar of honey. What do you open first? Of course, the answer we're looking for is the door, so they can come in. That's the children's, thing. I would open the fridge and get the eggs. I would make them some scrambled eggs. I would also pour some milk and juice for your friend. Well, wouldn't you open the door first? Let's see what it says. I apologise for the error in my pronunciation. I would open the door first to see who is there. If it is my friend, I would invite them in and make them breakfast. If it's not my friend, I would not open the door. Well, there you go. That's a bit better. Now, I think ChatGPT doesn't fall for that, and neither does Bing. They both say, yeah, I'd open the door first and then go on. Okay, so of course, we're dealing with language models here. Here is a good one. So what we've got here is I've got a very, very dry press release from the US State Department. Okay, and what I'm going to ask ChatGPT to do is rewrite the following text to make it more flamboyant, attractive to a teenager, witty and fast. The US State Department is so let's see whether it can take, it's very informative, this press release, but it's, not exactly, Stephen King or John Grisham. So let's see what it can do to try to take something that really is pretty bland. I mean, you can't blame them for it. It's a pretty bland announcement. The US State Department of Children Programs are pumped to host the 28th anniversary of America. Welcoming 30 from March to these diplomas and proposals to learn about the rich history, connect with local leaders. The goal: build relationships, promote economic, and have a blast. This is the 100th American experience. So if you're a diplomat looking to experience America, or just a Bostonian looking off to show off your city, mark your calendars. This is going to be an epic experience. That's much better. I like that. And you can actually ask Bard for different drafts. So here's a different one that that it came up with, and it's so what are you waiting for? Grab your passport and get ready for to experience America. Here's one. When I did this earlier, I even got some bold headlines. It was good. So it's done a pretty good job of taking that text and turning it into something more punchy. So the rewriting ability of this is not bad at all. Okay, so next one is create a list of 10 names that sound like they appear in a Jane Austen novel. I've had to say, including first names. I worked earlier on, and surnames. Let's see what it does. So, sound like they're from a Jane Austen novel. So what have we got? Didn't give me the surnames. Look at this. There are 10 names. It's saying, yeah, Elizabeth. Okay, so let's try that again. Of 10 names. First name and surname. Let's see whether it can give us the first name and the surname. That's what I'm really after. Bit of creativity. There we go. Elizabeth Bennet. Oh, Jane failed me. Elizabeth Bennet was in it. I don't know the books well enough to know whether any of the other people were. So, I had some success with that earlier. It did give me some kind of interesting, kind of Jane Austen type names. In fact, when I tried this on Bing, it gave me quite an interesting list. I had Amelia Crawford and Georgina Manning and Isabella Pembroke. So I don't know, this kind of thing, or I don't think it's quite as good as the other ones, but it's having a good go at it. It's definitely going it. Okay, let's ask it about some tech. Got 2 questions here for tech. These are my last 3 questions. Now, what is Wi-Fi 6E? So hopefully it should be able to give us a bit of an explanation about what is Wi-Fi 6E. Wi-Fi is a new standard of wireless network generation in the 6 GHz band, extension of Wi-Fi 6 as well. But correct. So I'm going to read all that, but that looks like to be it's talking about the right kind of thing. So that's pretty good. So when you're doing a kind of a lookup, what is something or other, then it does seem to have that information. Does it know about Piccolo OS? Of course, that's the multitasking OS that I wrote for the Raspberry Pi Pico. What is Piccolo OS by Gary Explains? Let's see what it says. Does it know me? Am I known by Bard? Does Bard know who I am? Piccolo OS is a small multitasking operative Raspberry Pi Pico, correct. Cortex M2, written in C, library. It's a great way to learn to write your own multitasking. It's a great way to learn about the ARM kids. It is, and all that is correct. So thank you. At least Bard knows who I am, and these other drafts here look to be fairly similar. Oh, here, this one, it mentions the GitHub page where you can find it. So that's pretty good. Okay, one last question. I discovered that Bing can play tic-tac-toe. That's noughts and crosses for those in Great Britain. And so you can kind of give it a layout. Like here you can say, here is a game of tic-tac-toe. What is the next move? Now, ChatGPT failed on this. Bing was able to play the game, and I was able to feed it back to itself, and it played the whole game through until we got into a tie. Let's see what Bard does with this. Let's see if it makes the same mistakes that ChatGPT does, or whether it does. The next move for O is to place their mark in the center square, and that is what ChatGPT said. Of course, there's in the center square, there's already a 0 there, an O there, so it's not going to be able to do that. This will force X to play in one of the corners, blah blah blah. So it doesn't work because it's doing illegal moves. So there you go. There's Bard. The first look at Bard. Okay, so there we have it, Google's Bard. Do tell me in the comments below what you think about it. Is this a game changer, or is this just something we've seen before? Is competition good, or does it not really matter at this stage? Okay, that's it. My name's Gary Sims. This is Gary Explains. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, then stick around by subscribing to the channel. Okay, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.